start with a Tory MP, one of only 121. He's a regular Conservative from Beverley and Holderness. Graham Stuart, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Jeremy. And you?
At least you answered.
Full of animated fury, quite rightly.
Well, at least you answered me. We'll try and push that button with Donald Trump as a bit of fun. It doesn't work. Graham, where do I start? Let's start with that Sun expose from yesterday because it's not going away. The spotlight's on a new crackdown. Channel migrants. I mean, honestly, channel migrants working illegally as takeaway drivers, managing to get the jobs within minutes of arriving in this country, earning upwards of £1,000 a week. Subletting accounts, moving it around. The Home Office is now targeting hotspots and seizing e-bikes. I don't understand, and I never have understood. I mean, everybody says to me, oh, the Home Office isn't fit for purpose. This is such a great piece of journalism, but the Home Office must have known about this. They must have known that this was going on. Where are the Home Office or immigration or border control? Why is this being allowed to, frankly, I don't want to use the wrong word, take the PISS out of the British people still further, Graham?
Well, you're absolutely right. As the journalist showed, it's right outside the places where people have been put. So not only are we paying for them to be put there, they're actually parking their Deliveroo bikes outside the door. So it's absolutely obvious to anyone with eyes to see that it's being abused. So it's just ridiculous. And so smash the gangs, the big promise a year ago. And you've got to remember, it is pretty much a year now since Labour came to power. And instead of smashing the gangs, what they've done is cancelled Rwanda, got rid of the only disincentive we had, and they're coming over, as your pictures are showing, by the thousand. Record numbers. Up, is it 30 or is it 40% more than the previous year? So just when we had a solution to bring it down, Labour moved in the opposite direction. And when people get here, as you say, the process within minutes, they can go riding around London and elsewhere with no lights on, putting every pedestrian at risk, while working for these big tech giants who, like the Home Office, seem to see no evil, hear no evil, and meanwhile, I'm going
to go further. I don't believe that companies as big as that don't know. I mean, there's some Labour minister I've no name said, I'm going to meet the food delivery firms over the reports of this in the next week or so. They should have been dragged to Downing Street yesterday and told in no uncertain terms that they are responsible. They should have been fined or sanctioned. The doors should have gone into those migrant hotels on television and I'm not trying to say the wrong thing here, but quite rightly, after those Stockport riots, Keir Starmer, his militia were on the streets, the judges were in their chambers, and the prisoners were suddenly free, and everybody, quite rightly, not all of them, not Lucy Connolly for God's sake, was thrown in jail within 24 hours. The reason this government will not do this to illegal migrants is because they are absolutely terrified about racial tension. They're terrified about their idea of, multiculturalism, and most of all, and people in this country believe this, and this is why I think it's frightening, is that they seem to be more interested in doing the right thing from a human rights point of view than they do from doing right for the British people. But I will say this every afternoon until they drag me off, Gray. This is really beginning to not even resonate. The British people have had enough. You're not going to tell me the Tories didn't know this was going on. You've only been out of power 11 months. This must have been going on, these illegal drivers.
Yeah, well, they absolutely should be cracked down on. That's why we were doing every step we possibly could, including Rwanda, to stop it happening. That's why when James Cleverly was the Home Secretary, we saw a significant reduction in the numbers. But stopping this sort of thing is just essential, because the trouble with this current Prime Minister, and that's what your listeners and viewers will think, he's not on your side.
No. Uh-oh. Oh, it's really going well. He's now.
And he's
frozen.
Not on Britain's side. He's given away sovereign territory we've got, and then the next time he goes in, it turns out he's paid £30 billion to rent it back, something which we already own. That's Chagos. And then you've got no effort to do this. And ministers, it's so infuriating. You get very cross, Jeremy. We should try being a member of Parliament sitting opposite. And they say, oh, no politicians answer straight questions. Well, I don't think that's true. I'm a minister. I should go back and have a look back at my answers. I would try and answer the question. Sometimes you avoid the most difficult ones. They never answer any question. And so you can't pin them down, and they're sitting there in la-la land. The good news, Jeremy, which I doubt that you're going to come to, is the fact that the people behind them, not us on the opposite side, the people behind them have had enough. I've just had Labour MP after Labour MP talking to me today, saying they've had it. They were marched up the hill on the winter fuel payment, which they thought was wrong. As a lady just said to me now, she said, I told them, I wrote to Rachel Reeves, she said privately, saying, we should set a figure like 15 or 20,000. Ignored. So and then they U-turn on it. And here they are selling out the country on Chagos, selling out the country on our borders, and everywhere he goes, Keir Starmer sells us out. And you may not have seen this over the weekend, Jeremy, but do you remember us talking about bioethanol? Because I have this big factory, the largest one in the country, that makes bioethanol.
Yeah, I do.
You stick it in petrol, reduces the CO2, it comes 1 million tonnes of wheat a year. It turns out that Johnny Reynolds, the business secretary, and his team of negotiators hadn't screwed up. They had done a balanced deal with America that helped us on steel, helped us on cars. It was a balanced deal. No mention of bioethanol. What the Times reported over the weekend, Donald Trump rang up Keir Starmer, said, it's not a good enough deal. I want the whole UK bioethanol market, 1.4 billion litres. And what did Keir Starmer do? What he always does. He caved. Because he's not on your side, he's not on Britain's side, and we gave away the whole thing for nothing at all in return.
So explain this to me then. Explain this to me. Explain this to me then. And you touched on the other main news story of the day: a major revolt brewing inside the Labour Party over Keir Starmer trying to push through this welfare benefits cut of $5 billion. It needs more than that. Over 120 Labour MPs, this is why I don't understand your leader, including the likes of Sadiq Khan, who cares, have vowed to sink the bill when it reaches the Commons next week. Overnight, on the way home, I read, Kemi Badenoch, head above the parapet, we'll support you to get this through because we believe in welfare benefit cuts if you follow or agree to these three things. I wouldn't be touching them with a barge pole. It's the first chance for the government to fall on its backside. I wouldn't be helping them to get it through. I'd watch it absolutely destroy itself across the chamber. What's she thinking, man? I don't get it.
No, Jeremy. This is our world. In the politics here, she is quite right, because she is saying the conditions she set are you've got to commit to reducing the budget overall. This $5 billion is a knee-jerk cut because she suddenly was $5 billion short. It's not designed to get people back into work. It's callous and cruel. It's targeting. It's saying taking away from PIP recipients so people can wash themselves. It's got nothing to do with work, and the Labour Party behind us seen through it, but said, look, we will support it because we've got to take the tough decisions, we've got to cut it, but you must commit to lower the benefits bill overall.
Doesn't it make more sense to watch him...
You must commit not to put taxes up. That's the other thing.
Politically, doesn't it make more sense to send the message that this man is, holed, basically, offshore, and even his own party are going to vote down one of his flagship policies? That's what I thought when I read about Badenoch. I thought to myself, here's a chance to really screw him over.
Well, what you'll find with those conditions is he would have to commit not to put up taxes in the budget later this year. He isn't going to do that because they are going to put up taxes.
Yeah.
Do you remember Rachel Reeves at the budget?
Yeah.
I will not be back. I won't ask talk listeners and viewers for any more tax. Today, Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor, challenged the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela, who looked strangely depressed today, didn't have an answer to any of his questions, and said, can you tell us, as the Chancellor did, that you won't put up taxes? You will not be surprised to learn that she would not say that. They're going to put up taxes. So Kemi is quite rightly saying to them, wanting to protect ordinary working people, which Labour said they would do, but they're not. And she's saying, yeah, we want to see the overall benefit budget coming down and we want no more taxes. And that's not going to be fulfilled because Labour are helter-skelter heading towards shoving up taxes even more. So even more people end up on the dole queue, and those who
you have to
less and less money in their pocket.
You have to. We're friends, but you have to understand. I mean, I read today that voters' trust in this government is at an all-time low. I turn this right back on your party. This shambles are in power because the British public lost complete trust in the Tory party. We can talk about illegal migrants. We can talk about taxation. When you left office, Graham, with respect, it was the highest level of taxation in 70 years. I will say this to any politician of any party, and I want everybody to be involved, right? I'm not sure. You will tell me you do, and I'll say it to every politician. The depth of frustration, anger, resentment, and a desire to say, hold on a minute, I've lived my life correctly, I've done everything that I said I'd do, I'm at the back of the bleeding queue, and you know what? I'm not far right, but I've had enough of I've had enough of the way I'm being treated. I think that's palpable, mate, all across the country.
I agree with you. The point, though, is we went through, we had the COVID, which cost a fortune. Did you want to have the furlough to protect people? Did you want to make sure that we could develop support the AstraZeneca development, save more
Oh, he's gone. Is he gone? He keeps cutting out.
lives than
Oh, he's
the other
back.
bills? We invested, we put more money. Are you there? We put
Yeah,
more
it keeps
money
cutting
in
out.
the
Go on.
NHS every year throughout the time. The truth is that taxes for ordinary working people were not at their highest level. We actually helped reduce it by lifting people out of tax. The rich were paying more than ever before, not the average ordinary working person. And when we left power, not only did we have 4 million more people in work, we'd grown faster than Germany, France, Italy, Japan over the 14 years. So much for 14 years of failure. We outcompeted all of them, and inflation was back on target. We were recovering from all those hits, and Labour came in, and they need to own it. So I know you want to blame me. I didn't fail to vote Conservative, Jeremy. You did. But what we've actually got is a government which has let us down. It promised hope, they promised change, they promised life would be better. They told us
I didn't vote. I didn't vote for you last time because I felt like millions of people that the Conservative government had let me down. But that's me, and that's you, and that's fine. Let's talk about something that an opposition, an MP from a different party has been talking about today. Deputy Reform UK leader Richard Tice went to visit Lucy Connolly in prison. Has said that she was manhandled without provocation, handcuffed and stripped of privileges by prison officers. This is, of course, Lucy Connolly, the wife of a former Tory councillor. Her appeal against this ridiculous 31-month jail sentence for hurty words, which none of us condone, to me, is one of the most outrageous things that have happened in this country. I don't condone what she said. I would have thought that sort of some work in the local community, some sort of community service within the Muslim community would have been absolutely right for her to understand more before she sounds off. But we have paedophiles, Hugh Edwards, we have convicted criminals, we have foreign men who arrive in this country, we don't know who the hell they were. In fact, the own Labour government said last week that a large majority of them have been part of these grooming gangs, and yet Lucy Connolly is languishing in jail. I think one of the biggest miscarriages of justice, and to me, that is absolutely symptomatic of Sir Keir Starmer's United Kingdom, isn't it, Graham?
It is. It's two-tier justice. That's what really gets people. People don't like double standards. If it was applied consistently, that'd be one thing, but it isn't. People who do far, far worse things and show no contrition end up with lower sentences than she does. As you said, she took it down shortly after she did it. And we've all, you in particular, Jeremy, would understand raging when you hear certain things because you're particularly good at it. And there she is. She's not a professional communicator and journalist like you. She made a mistake and she's banged up for all that time. And criminals who've hurt people get lower sentences. The British people don't like that. And the fact that it is symptomatic, if it was a one-off, that would be bad. But the fact is that it feels that, as you've talked about, lots of people, if they are politically on one side or another, then they get a different sentence, and it's just
that's wrong, isn't it?
It's no way to run the country, and we need to fix it. And this government, it's not on the side of the people, it's not on the side of Britain.
The other thing I just want to touch upon, it's a particular hatred of mine. The BBC, the British Bloated Corporation, supposed to be our British, state, if you call it, wrong way to describe it, balanced broadcaster. They feel that I don't know if you've read this, they've told staff. Ms. Croxall this week changed. I don't know if you read about it. She changed sort of pregnant people to pregnant women. Yeah. I thought good luck to her, actually, fair play there. She was the one that they tried to get rid of for being too old, and she stuck two fingers up. Now they can't do anything to her at all, because if they get rid of her, it'll be complete outrage. But the BBC staff have been told in an email they must represent unpalatable and offensive views. Do the BBC understand that those unpalatable and offensive views are normal, intelligent, switched-on views of a majority of the people in this country, and that their left-wing bias is turning millions of people against what was once a proud national institution?
Well, I agree with you. You've got more sense out of it than I did. I read about it. I was none the wiser. What are they talking about? You must represent foul and offensive views. What a ridiculous thing to say to people. What you should do is represent a wide range of views in British society. Anyone who breaks the law, anyone who calls for, hate against others and calls for action that's going to hurt them, well, that's against the law. But everyone else is entitled to their view, and they shouldn't be described as extremist or unpleasant by some little bubble of left-wing people within the BBC. I mean, they are, very, very biased. And it's good you're there, Jeremy, to have a counterweight.
Well, I also need to do a little survey on you if I can, GS. Yesterday, in the midst of this horrific situation with Palestine Action, which is this group that think it's okay to break into an armed base and destroy, well, sabotage. I think they should have been jailed, but of course no, we'll probably find a lawyer that will defend them. Sabotage £35 million worth of damage to two very important Voyager planes. Zara Sultana, do you know who she is? Have you met her?
I do know who Zara Sultana is, yeah.
Raisin.
She was elected as a Labour MP.
Nutter. She tweeted in the midst of the show, "We are all Palestine Action," and I am duty-bound to ask you, are you Palestine Action, Graham Stuart? Because I bloody well am not.
And I'm bloody well not either. Palestine Action, they attacked a British plane. Those planes are used to bring help to Gaza. That's how misguided these people are. They don't know what they're doing. They come attack an arms of the British state. And those who suggest it's treasonous, I think, have a very strong point. So like you, I want to see strong action taken. These people need to be identified. They need to be arrested. But, we could end on a positive note about the Labour government. At least they're talking about...
He's gone. Thank you very much indeed, Graham Stuart.